So Praveen, now coming back to you, right? So I asked him specific to data science sales. Now coming to a data scientist angle, more of a fresher. Let's say he has worked uh, for UB as an intern in the center of excellence, solved really good problems for UB, worked on real good financial models, identified risk, flagged risk, reduced propensity of the customer paying failing to pay significantly and all of that. So now let's assume this is his profile, but then for some reason Matangi decided not to hire him. Okay, now how does he position himself on LinkedIn, given that we're talking more in the professional space? How does he position himself on LinkedIn as a better brand to be recruited by other fintech companies or other financial analytics arms? How does he do it? How he comes to you for help?
See, first advice from me if someone came to me for help is probably the job profiles were not matching. Their requirements were different to what you were looking at. They probably have only a few skill sets that they were looking for, and you probably were not fitting into that. But that doesn't mean that you don't fit into the entire ecosystem's scheme of things. So, number one, focus on who you are. Again, coming back to what we spoke earlier. Okay, now which are the four other companies that have the job that you want? If you're a entry level data scientist now, what are the jobs? Okay, from your experience, your 1 year experience being an intern, you have a fair understanding as to what kind of a job you want now. So where are these jobs available? Like Ashutosh said, they won't come to you. You also have to find out where they are. And do you have an understanding of their JDs first? Have you studied the JD enough for you to tell that compelling story so that he or she is sitting back and hearing you out in terms of your accomplishments in this 1 year of your internship? Because all said and done, if you're a you know engineering graduate from any premier B schools, okay, you are qualified. Your qualification, what you did, you've passed your 8 semesters there. Everyone has done that. That's the platform. That's a basic qualification. Everyone has achieved. Now, what is your differentiator in this case of the student that you spoke about who has done his 1 year internship at UB here is his 1 year story. So now the interviewer is trying to focus on asking the candidate as to what was his experience, where what is his story of his 1 year. So that's where he needs to now align his experience to the requirement of the recruiter. Else, there's a mismatch. I keep telling stuff that I did in this 1 year, but it has nothing to do with what they are looking for. There's a mismatch. Now you need to be smart enough to understand that company's requirements, the skill sets required there, the applications of what you learned in this internship versus that first 1 year job role there. So if you marry these two, that's when the recruiter is going to pay attention to your accomplishments and try to dig more into what have you done in that 1 year, rather than going across the entire ecosystem where the world is too big for you to answer those questions. But you need to focus on what have you learned and ensure that the recruiter is asking you more questions on based on what you have done rather than the open world. The open world is too much and you'll not be able to answer all the questions. The recruiter might have 10 years experience asking you all sort of questions, but you might not have an answer for all that. So better you convey your story in a way where the questions are built around your experience rather than leaving it loose. Then again you will not hit it, and then again you're not impressing the recruiter. So that's going to be my advice for this candidate.
So another quick follow up. Okay, so this is what you're telling me to probably this is the marketing bit of it, which is I know what I'm good at, I know what they want, and I structure the message and I ensure the message you know promulgates to them, right? So that is what is I want the branding aspect of it. How do I build a profile such that if anybody is looking to hire a fresher or hire a young professional, I should be on their radar. I should be on the radar of 5 6 people, that at any given time there are people reaching out to me and be like, hey, that's the ideal state for any candidate, right? I have people offering me jobs and I am deciding what I want to do.
So it's a very good question. See, today the world is all about keywords. Okay, now all kind of algorithms, whether it's a video profile of yours or a written CV of yours or a word of mouth, a referral, is going to only pick up your keywords. So now that's why I started my earlier. I was answering your earlier question. The whole journey starts 4 years ago when you started your engineering program in the first year. So have you found out what you wanted, and do you know who's your audience? Do you know what their requirements are? Some people go behind brands, and they don't care about the job. They're looking at the brand because that appeals to them. Some people, see, ideally you should be looking at the job profile and then go searching which companies have this job profile, and then start working backwards in 4 years in advance. Number 1, to acquire those skill sets. Number 2, work on those projects. Number 3, speaking, going and meeting your TG, your seniors who are working in those companies, doing internships in those companies to understand the entire portfolio that first job, that dream job of yours is all about. And you need to do enough study around that and start working towards acquiring those skills. And all your experience that you gain should be in line with the future job that you have. That's when you create a niche. Otherwise you are going to use the spray and pray method, where you're going to apply to everyone and then see a lot of failures in the initial stage. And it could be luck by chance, where you might hit some right chord, you might land up in your sixth or seventh job. But if you start with the aim of ensuring that my first application should be my last one, and that's when your preparation is going to be so much more solid. But you are not going to gain all this experience by your own thinking, but you need to spend a lot of time with your seniors who are working in those companies or in similar companies. You need to go and do internships there. You need to ask people who are working there and gain a lot of knowledge in terms of what could I expect, what will they expect out of me, and don't try to prepare that in the last 50 days. Spend your first 3 years if you're late by 1 year, but best is the first 4 years, because that's where the differentiator is going to come across.